Hello and welcome. Our top focus remains on Kenya. In the last 24 hours, the country has seen outrage and violence peak. Peaceful protests against the tax hikes turned into deadly clashes. And as the anger against President William Ruto kept swelling, he has backtracked and announced that he will not sign the controversial finance bill that introduces new taxes.
I send my condolences to the families of those who lost their loved ones in this very unfortunate manner. Consequently, having reflected on the continuing conversation around the content of the Finance Bill 2024 and listening keenly to the people of Kenya who have said loudly that they want nothing to do with this Finance Bill 2024, I concede, and therefore I will not sign the 2024 Finance Bill, and it shall subsequently be withdrawn, and I have agreed with these members that that becomes our collective position.
On Tuesday, as the Kenyan Parliament passed the contentious finance bill, protests against tax hikes descended into violence in Nairobi. The police fired tear gas, water cannons and rubber bullets at protesters. Rights groups say the police also resorted to using live ammunition. Authorities claim the protesters pelted stones at the offices, pushed barricades and entered the grounds of Parliament. Angry protesters even set a part of the Parliament building on fire. Videos on local television showed ransacked rooms with smashed windows, while cars parked outside the Parliament were vandalized and flags were destroyed. The governor's office in Nairobi City Hall, which is just a few hundred meters from the Parliament, was set alight. Some demonstrators also broke into the Kenyan National Assembly chamber. The police eventually managed to drive the protesters from the Parliament building, and lawmakers were evacuated through an underground tunnel. Military was deployed to support the Kenyan police. At least 13 people were killed and dozens injured in the deadly clashes. Rights groups have also accused the authorities of abducting protesters. Protests also erupted in other Kenyan cities, including Mombasa and Eldoret. Internet services across Kenya faced severe disruptions during the police crackdown. Reacting to the violence, William Ruto said that the demonstrations were hijacked by dangerous people and criminals who pretended to be peaceful protesters.
I hereby put on notice the planners, financiers, orchestrators, and abettors of violence and anarchy that the security infrastructure established to protect our republic and its sovereignty will be deployed to secure the country and restore normalcy. It is not in order or even conceivable that criminals pretending to be peaceful protesters can rain terror against the people, their elected representatives, and the institutions established under our Constitution, and expect to go scot-free. We must isolate crime from democratic expression and separate criminals from people exercising the freedom of expression and divergent opinion.
Kenyan youth has been the driving force of the protests against the tax hikes. They resorted to digital activism to organize these protests and mobilize support. But the protests had remained largely peaceful. On Tuesday, too, the protests began in a festival-like atmosphere. But as crowds swelled and the Parliament cleared the controversial tax reforms, Kenya took a dramatic turn of events.
The taxes are so high. We are being taxed our salary, and any other thing that you are going to buy with the little that you're remaining with is also taxed. So I think let us just demonstrate. We don't want it to be amended. We want it to be rejected in totality, and let us just kill the snake before it lays.
Government treat us like foreigners in this place. We are rejecting every single bill in that finance. We are rejecting it, every clause. We are not asking for any amendment. We are asking for them to reject it. The MPs have failed us. We are going to take power with our own hands.
The United States, Canada, Germany, Britain, and 10 other nations urged for peace after the escalation. They said they were shocked by the scenes outside the Kenyan parliament.
So we condemn the violence reported during protests in Nairobi and around Kenya. We mourn the loss of life and injuries sustained and offer our condolences to the families who lost loved ones. We urge restraint to restore order and provide space for dialogue.
The United Nations also expressed deep concern over violence in Nairobi. UN Chief Antonio Guterres said he was saddened by the reported deaths and injuries.
We're obviously looking at what is going on in Nairobi and in Kenya, where Secretary General is obviously deeply concerned over the reported violence that we've seen connected with these protests and these street demonstrations. He's very much saddened by the reports of deaths and injuries, including journalists and medical personnel. We're also very concerned about reported cases of targeted arbitrary detentions. It is very important that the rights of people to demonstrate peacefully be upheld.
The African Union Commission called on Kenya to refrain from further violence. Now for more, we have with us Deputy Executive Director of the UDA Party Kenya, Higgins Mbagua. Thank you for joining us live from Nairobi. Welcome to First Post.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, President William Ruto has warned of a crackdown against those behind the violence and arson. Could inaction further fuel anger among the protesters? And can the Ruto government afford to ignite civil unrest further as it stares at several other challenges, including an economic crisis?
As you are aware, this is the third protest. Yesterday's protest was the third protest of the finance bill. The last two protests were largely peaceful and there were no incidences. People protested and in the evening they went home. But come yesterday, there were some elements that infiltrated an otherwise peaceful demonstration, which started early in the morning. But at the midday, 1 o'clock time, it became violent. Shops were vandalized. They were able to enter Parliament and vandalized Parliament. So it turned from being a peaceful demonstration with some small element trying to cause havoc. And that's what the president is saying. Those criminals or those who use this opportunity to do their criminal activities, they should be hunted down so that every crime should not go unpunished.
And Higgins, talk to us about your thoughts and opinions on President William Ruto scrapping the bill and succumbing to pressure from these protests.
I think the president has read the mood of the nation and dropped the finance bill. But what I love to say is that most people, or those who were against the finance bill, most people had not read the bill itself, number one. Number two, the bill cannot stand on its own without the budget. So even those legislators who voted no for the bill, the best thing they could have done is they go back for to the budget bill and they say, our people are burdened. Let us remove this road from my constituency. Let us remove this water project. Let us remove this electricity connectivity program so that we can be able to cut the taxes. Because the finance bill is to finance the budget. So you have to do both. You can't have your cake and eat it. You find that we spend a third of our budget to pay, to service our debt obligation. And defaulting on our debt obligation is more fatal than the incidences of the last three demonstrations. because it will be constant. We will lose out in international money market funds. Our shilling will depreciate. Cost of commodity will go out. So these are very delicate balancing act. We honor our debt obligation and at the same time not overburden the citizen. It's a very tightrope to be in right now.
Absolutely. Higgins, thank you very much for your time and for being with us on First Post Africa.
Thank you.
On this today, the T20 World Cup bandwagon has moved across to the West Indies. What can we expect from this?
Hello, I'm Alison Green, coming to you from Durban, South Africa. Today we have a special show.
Start with a report on India's shifting nuclear posture. The first time since India officially became a nuclear power.
Hello and welcome to First Post America. I'm Aaron Ham, coming to you live from the nation's capital.